landing pages are kind of the opposite of a homepage. A landing page is speaking to one person based very much on who they are, and they have already segmented themselves based on what they just clicked. A landing page is more of a single-purpose page coming from a specific campaign usually. But regardless of why I came to this page, I'm going to have my first question is, am I in the right place? So these pages have to communicate to us very quickly to tell us where we are.
Welcome to the Magnificent Marketing Podcast, where we interview the top marketing experts in the world and keep you up to date on all the changes and best practices to help you grow your business and stay on the cutting edge. Welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Andy Crestodina, and Andy has been in the web design and interactive marketing space since January of 2000. In that time, he's helped thousands of people do a better job getting results online. He's a true evangelist for content marketing and ethical digital marketing. Together with the team at Orbit Media, Andy has put out some of the best digital marketing advice available in hundreds of practical articles, including posts on virtually all of the top marketing websites. Then there's the book Content Chemistry, which is currently in its 3rd edition. Andy is also a regular speaker both locally and nationally, and not only is Andy a co-founder of Content Jam, Chicago's largest content marketing conference, which is currently in its 5th year, but he's also a regular face on the national circuit. If you go to a content marketing conference, the one Chicagoan you're most likely to hear is Andy Crestodina. And today we're going to talk about conversion optimization tips. Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry for butchering your hometown
no,
euphemism or whatever that's called.
No, it's we're good. I'm glad to be here, and this is a great topic.
It really is. It really is. Business is about getting the right traffic and then converting that traffic, right? So it's, in my opinion, it's literally half of your focus needs to be put on this, and it's just tough, especially with all the different advice out there. I mean, go to a landing page, go type in landing page conversion tips, and you're going to get, there's so much conflicting advice. So you're one of the best in the business at this, and I say that with 100% genuine statement there because I've followed a ton of people, and you really are the top. So everybody pay attention. So let's just dig right in here. First off, Andy, just give us your take on the why, like why a visitor converts.
Yeah, I really like how you started this off by saying that it's half the battle, because in my mind it's exactly half. It's the equation of success is traffic times the conversion rate equals leads.
Yep.
And these conversions, first we should say, we're talking about any action the visitor takes that changes their status from a stranger, a suspect into a prospect, from just a visitor into a lead, or a subscriber, or an e-commerce customer, or a podcast subscriber, a registrant, an event attendee, a job candidate, whatever we want them to do. So that idea for conversion is really just going to be, if you can improve your conversion rate by a little bit, it improves the value of all that traffic you've generated by a lot. So the why is, you just asked like the best question in marketing. Why do people take action? I think that it's easy to think about this if you just remember that it's not them, it's us. We are visitors, and the psychology that we all share as we all visit websites is not so different. We're not talking about like someone who's a totally different species. It's us. And we convert when we have clarity, when we believe that this thing that we're going to do is going to give us value. So the way that I've been teaching it is that conversion is a function of clarity, and one of the most important first things that we must do is to really make sure that we're addressing each of those visitors' questions and concerns. Answer all their questions and address their objections, and that visitor is just far, far more likely to convert, because even a tiny bit of uncertainty can be a big deal breaker.
So I've seen you mention, along the lines of this, and you might have kind of touched on it a little bit right now, but you mentioned something about context plus empathy equals conversions. Can you explain that further?
Sure. So web design is a little bit of mind control. So we have to give the person the information they need right when they need it. For example, classic example, I'm on the product detail page. I see I can afford this thing, and I see evidence this looks like it's going to help me, but when can I get it? The when can I get it question is not the first question. It's do you have it? So you're not trying to. So we have to answer that question when that question appears in order, in context. So it's really designing an experience that prioritizes through visual prominence and hierarchy the things that are most important to that visitor in the order that's most likely to pop into their head. So that's when it goes in. The empathy is what we have to say there.
Well, let's back up a little bit on that because, and I assume we're going to talk about various things, but you have your conversion landing pages when, click here for a demo or whatever, and people click on that. Then you have your home page. And correct me if I'm wrong, but those are probably two of the most important things to concentrate on, or the top of the home page. First of all, let's clarify that. I mean, if someone's going to start somewhere to start improving conversions, would you agree that those are the two places they need to concentrate on?
Yeah, I like that approach.
You had to pick.
Yeah, because so basically there's going to be a funnel or a top path through your website where visitors are going to go from learning what you do to how well you do it to can you do it for them to filling out a contact form. So I think it's a smart thing to strengthen the weak links at the top of the chain because now you'll get more data in the bottom of your chain, and you're going to use that data to make better decisions. So yeah, I think that the homepage is a great place to start.
Okay. So you mentioned putting stuff in order for how they want to see it. Let's talk about that. Like, what do you mean as far as, sometimes on a conversion landing pages, I mean, there's all a variant, of how you can display them, and you can have a simple one if it's a simple kind of thought, but sometimes you want to have bullet points, I guess, to, answer the objections of like what you mentioned. So can you talk a little bit about that for landing pages and for like the top of the home page of putting the priority of order? First of all, how do you discover what those things are, and then how would you display that? And I assume we're talking above the fold on the home page, but again, correct me if I'm wrong. So can you explain that a little bit better?
Sure. The home page is first of all, it's a very weird page on websites. It's a totally unique, exceptional page in almost every way. The homepage's job is to speak to everybody about everything, and to then quickly segment that visitor into the buckets of things that they are most likely to need. So if I go to a homepage, that homepage has got to talk to me no matter who I am, and so it's going to quickly give me the options to jump into those specific products or specific services or the programs or the type of visitor that I am. Or if it's a more magazine or like an information-driven website, it might be some of the main categories for content. So the job of the homepage is to quickly segment the visitor into those things that matter most to them. Landing pages are kind of the opposite of a homepage. A landing page is speaking to one person based very much on who they are, and they have already segmented themselves based on what they just clicked. A landing page is more of a single-purpose page coming from a specific campaign usually. But regardless of why I came to this page, I'm going to have my first question is, am I in the right place? So these pages have to communicate to us very quickly to tell us where we are, which is why a big mistake is when websites make landing pages or home pages that have the most prominent text just be some vague benefit statement. Achieve excellence, or best in class, or, number one, global provider. Like, none of those things mean anything to anybody. There's generic marketing statements. So the where you are, where am I question is something that we have to answer immediately. So for home pages, it should be the main name of the business category or the main primary service you offer. On a landing page, it's usually using the same language that you used on when you clicked from the campaign.
And that's a good point. I want to emphasize that. If you have various products and you have a landing page, it's not that much effort that needs to go into changing a word.
Right.
It could be, a dental office could have 10 different services. It could be the exact same, trust indicators on there. Just change this service word to that service word, and especially if you're doing Google AdWords, right? That's easy. Yeah. That's super easy because you have a direct thing. So, so that's a great point. Now, but you mentioned segmenting, like homepage, like help us visualize what you mean by that, like segmenting like a homepage.
Sure. So there are brands, and I know offices. Here's an example. A client is a dental office. They do lots of dental work. Some of it's cosmetic, some of it's routine, daily type procedures. They also have the skincare area of their business. They're like estheticians. Okay, I might be any of those people, your job is to quickly help me find these things and get everything else out of the way so I can go into that area where I know that I need that thing. Am I there for Botox or Invisalign or Restylane or a checkup? Right? This page is successful if it quickly moves me into those areas, whatever that thing might be. Once I'm in that, the job of that page, or any page, every page, the job of this page is to speak to me based on what my top concerns are. So let's say we could take anything. I'm working on a site later today that is a university. So one of the first questions is this a good program? This has to say the word accredited, very close to the top, 50 years as a higher ed institution, like all of those things that quickly answer that they're credible, go up at the top. It's almost as prominent as the phrase, Masters in Social Work, which is the name of the specific program I'm on. Now I know that it's credible. The next thing is, is it going to help me, right? So there's statements about this is good for your career. Those statements can actually come from the audience, and we're already using testimonials as ways to answer that question. The messenger isn't always the brand. The messenger is more powerful if it's a member of the audience. So this degree helped advance my career and, opened opportunities for me and opened doors and still does, something like this. So that's one of the next messages. Now I believe that it's good. One of my next questions is going to be, am I eligible? The am I eligible is not my first thing. We don't have to tell people that, answer if they're eligible or not until they think they might want it. So am I eligible? We're going to be answering questions about transfer credits and student loans, and do you have what do you have to be to get into this master's program, and these kinds of things. The student loan question is a financial question, which we're also addressing with the call to action, saying speak to a financial advisor. Now I believe that,
and these are service pages we're talking about, right?
This is one page. Yep, it's one tall page. It's going to answer every question as it appears in this visitor's mind.
Okay, so the services pages should be about answering these questions, right? So, but to display that, are we talking about, like, again, to circle back to the home page when people go there, because we want to get them to those pages, right? And then that you've explained very well the purpose of those pages. So, answer questions on those pages. Don't worry about doing some long, drawn out, even a blog post about what that's all about. Just answer the question. You can have blog posts that do that again displays all this together, but those services. So, but I want to get people to those pages, right? And that's what we're talking about today. Conversion, and that's the first step to the conversion, is getting them to that page that will help answer the question to convert. Are we talking about the slide? No slider images. I'm sold on not doing slider images. Just one static image that says this stuff. Are we talking about that image, or are we talking about above that the tabs up top? The navigation tabs. What are you saying when you say segment and how to get people there? Do we want to have that slider image split, with the different services if there's more than one that click to different places, or what are the best practices? What's your expert advice on that?
Yeah, there isn't one right answer, but if you stand back from your website and do kind of the squint test, or the 10-foot, stand back 10 feet and look at it, or the 5-second test, if you put it on Usability Hub, you'll see what people tell you is the top of the visual hierarchy. Whatever, your page is going to be controlling the visitor's eye through size, through color, through white space, through formatting, and there's going to be something at the top of your visual hierarchy. Whatever that is, should tell people where they are. One of the very next things in that visual hierarchy should tell people where they can go. Now, website navigation is critical because it can do both things, right? The navigation in the website, if it is descriptive, both tells people that they're in the right place and helps them jump into the page that's most relevant to them. A bad navigation label would say services. That doesn't say anything to anybody or a bad navigation label is what we do. What we do doesn't actually say what you do. So it's far better to have website navigation that's descriptive. It's both better for search. That page is more likely to rank because it's about a specific topic. Nobody's searching for what we do. People search for services names. So you want to have, the navigation is very important and very useful in solving both those problems of telling people where they are and where they can go, and how to go deeper into that contextual stuff. So yeah, that's probably a bit high on the hierarchy. Home pages are going to have very high visual prominence up in the navigation. But yeah, you might have a featured image and it might have a specific, the name of the category you're in with a little benefit statement below it. It could have a call to action if there's something that people really want to see from there. And then maybe right below that, a common approach would be to have it, let's say there's 3 main buckets. You could have like, third for 3 relatively prominent buttons or calls to actions or descriptions of services or images that take people to those 2 categories.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate that. All right, to move on from the home page. I know I spent a little bit of time on that, but I think it's very important. So you mentioned that there's 2 ways to increase your conversion rate now. What are those, and can you speak a little bit on that?
Well, there's 2 kinds of evidence that we add to pages. So the framework for conversions, and we can share some images or notes or a post on this, is to go from the visitor's questions to answers. We have to answer those questions, would be 2. Evidence that supports our answers would be 3. And then finally, the specific call to action would be 4. So I want to go from questions to answers to evidence to action. That's a simple framework for content, a content-based approach to conversion. So
okay, and then when you say evidence, you mean like question, answer, and then you have like a testimonial, or do you just mean like question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, if there's 5 to 10 of them, and then at the bottom you have your testimonials?
That's a great question, David, and that's where context comes in. So if the question is, where is this located? I could answer that question, but you could also support that answer with evidence in a testimonial, whatever it might be. How long will it take is the question. The answer might be, on-time service every day for 20 years. But the testimonial that supports that answer might be, wow, that was so fast. Thank you so much for helping me quickly. It's less effective to put the testimonials farther down the page where they are not supporting the answer. The least effective is to put all your testimonials in one place somewhere else on a testimonials page.
Yeah.
Never make a testimonials page. Make every page into a testimonials page. Fill the website with evidence and put the testimonial right there next to the answer it supports. Any answer that doesn't have that is just unsupported marketing claims. Look at your pages from this perspective. Count the number of unsupported marketing claims you make on your site. You might have many. The idea is to not just support the marketing claim, but to support it next to, right? It's like gravity. You're trying to hold it up.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. Do you have a good visual to point us to? Maybe a website that maybe your website or any website that, because visually it's always, visual is so important, right?
Sure.
So, how you display that, I know there could be some creative ways where you kind of, when you see those quote inserts that you can put in your blogs, that kind of stand out, and they actually have little quotes, and they stand out. But sometimes you could do it in such a way where it's too much, right? So do you have a good visual to share with us to check out?
Yeah, the way that we built our conversion optimization page uses a lot of these tactics. And it's not a very long page, but at the very top, it starts with evidence, which your question was about the 2 things. There are 2 kinds of evidence. You can add data-driven evidence, which is qualitative or quantitative, and you can add story-based testimonial evidence, which is qualitative. So the top of that page says 41% increase, average increase. That's the last 20 websites we launched. That was the average increase in conversion rate. Now, there are people who need that information. They have a certain personality type where they want to gather data, and our website has to speak to all kinds of people, right? So we have to cover them too, of course. So the very top of the page includes some data. We know that from the research on our site, people are going to scroll past that. It's not the strongest piece, right? The strongest piece will be the evidence, the testimonial, the story. So then it goes into the basics of how we optimize for conversions and some simple answers. And then at the bottom of the page, and it's not a very tall page, the bottom of the page has a testimonial from someone for whom we increased his conversion rate. That testimonial includes 7 little things. And here's my tips for adding, strengthening your testimonials. First of all, it has the logo. I think we maybe use 6 of these 7 on that page. But it has the logo of the company. You can add a title for your testimonial, which pulls out the juiciest 4 or 5 words from the testimonial and makes them like a header, like a header for your testimonial, as if it's a tiny page. And then it has the testimonial itself. Under the testimonial, there is the face, the name, the company, and the job title of the person who gave the testimonial, building him up to make him as real as possible. You can see his face. I can almost hear his voice, right? And then after that, we have in that testimonial, a little bit sneaky, but we made sure those testimonials themselves include the key phrase, right? We have key phrase focused testimonials. A key phrase focused testimonial is one of only 4 tactics I know that will increase both your traffic and your conversion rate, right? There are precious few ways to affect both numbers, and one of them is to put keywords into your testimonials. So it can be very powerful.
What's that URL?
That's just our test. That page, if you're looking at it, it's like, yeah.
Let's see. I mean,
it's the conversion and UX page. That page is called orbitmedia.com/conversion-rate-optimization.
Okay, so orbitmedia.com
/conversion-rate-optimization.
Okay.
So,
all right, everyone, check that out. I'm going to definitely do the same because, you know, talking this stuff out is one thing, but seeing like how you do it here, okay.
This is actually a different page than I thought. It uses the same tactics, but there's different testimonial and different data at the top. But it uses every one of the features I mentioned. Okay. One of the other tricks, there it is at the bottom. You can see that testimonial. Another trick is at the very, very bottom for the final call to action. And rule number 1 of calls to action is to have a call to action. Never make a page. Never make a page that's a dead end, right? Go find every dead end on your website and fix it. There should be testimony or calls to action at the bottom. There's a picture of Sarah, and it says, "How does your site perform?" ? From small enhancements to entire overhauls, blah blah blah. Happy to talk to you. Message Sarah.
Yeah, I like that.
We
just started doing that.
Yeah,
putting a name to the person rather than contact us. Contact XYZ person. Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad we're doing that right.
Keeping it real. Yeah, be a person. Makes a big difference.
Right? Isn't that crazy? So, awesome. So you basically described the conversion map. I think you created that, if I'm not mistaken, about questions, concerns, answer, information, evidence, call to action. Now, you know, this could be something that you'd be like, well, if you don't know the answer to this, well, you got to start from square one. But how can one make sure they're answering all the main questions that they should be answering? You know, if they don't know those, is that just like a big problem, or is there ways to maybe go about that to help somebody along, just to make sure they're not missing anything? You know, they might think they're doing it, but maybe not. And how did you go about, or how do you go about doing that for not your company, companies that you work with? It's easier for you to talk about your own company, but how do you go about like learning and helping people do that all the way correctly for other companies you work with?
Yeah. Well, it's fun to work with people that have done a bit of sales, because when you talk to them, they have strong empathy because they talk to that audience a lot. Customer service people often know these questions too. Just though talking to people and looking at their website and pretending to be the visitor sometimes helps a lot, because when I did this once for like a plumbing website, this woman randomly wanted to talk about her dad's plumbing company, and it's all like, we'll fix your pipes, we'll clean your pipes, not your wallet. You know, it has all this pricing information on it. It has a lot of addresses cost concerns. But I asked her, like, what do people need to know when they hire you? Like, what do they ask when they call? And a lot of it's about how soon can you get here, because it's an urgency-based service. There was no information on the site about how fast they get there, 24-hour or whatever the thing. Like, and so she wanted to hang up the call right then. She's like, I got it, I get it, I got to fix this now, right? So sometimes it's obvious. Other times, it just takes a little bit of research when you ask them, like, this question: what are the 3 things that everyone needs to know before they hire you? Then go to the site and count how many of those 3 things they have on there. Sometimes they have none of those 3 things. If maybe you're a bigger business and maybe it's B2C and you don't get a chance to talk to the customers because you've got millions of customers, you can use tools to see what people are looking for and what questions people are asking online. One of the fun ones is answerthepublic.com. Do you ever use this one? It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I've seen it. Definitely.
Yeah. So I did this once for
not too long ago. I came across that not too long ago, actually.
Yeah, it just scrapes Google. There's a better tool called Bloomberry, which gives you thousands of questions. Answer the Public is a simple one to start with. I did this once for a group of prosthodontists, and we were talking about what content their audience cares about and what they need. They fix broken teeth, among other things. So we had this, we wanted to learn what people needed to know, what questions people had about broken teeth, and found out that there's 49 questions, I'm looking at it now, that people ask about broken teeth. So how to prevent, how to replace, how to repair, those are how questions. Teeth extraction, the questions about how they're fixed. The cost, is it common, is it dangerous, is it fixable? There's all these are just, I'm just looking at a list of 49 questions people ask related to broken teeth. Some of these might be useful as conversion content.
Yeah. And does it give the volume of the questions?
No, this tool is pretty basic. So this would be step one, is in topical research. But yeah, the volume would be useful, right? Because I could gauge which are the most common.
Yeah.
If you search in Google, it will suggest phrases. The first phrases it suggests, even before you type in another letter of the alphabet, are the ones that are the more common. So if you put a question word plus a topic word into Google, the phrases it begins to suggest first are the more common ones. I find that to be more useful in researching topics for content marketing and blogging and writing articles. But for conversion content, it really is just like, our goal is to make this page emulate a sales conversation.
Yeah.
So I would only go to these research tools as like a secondary or, kind of last resort. Hopefully people can tell me what their clients care about.
Or just to go, yeah, you're right. Hopefully they can, but then you can go there and say, hey, well, I would say 90% of this can be just pure logic from our side to be able to ask the right questions to, or yourself, these are some common questions. Is that, oh yeah, so it could jog some memory, some thoughts, I guess. So, but then they should know, right, at that point, and it'll get you. But yeah, that's a great source to start, because it's going to be hard. I was working with a client the other day, and I was like, we ran a keyword report to see what keywords we had the opportunity to rank for that would bring them business, right? And there was this one that had like 0.02 competition. I was like, oh my God. It's not like the biggest search quantity. It's like 600 a month, but 0.02, I was like, man, you can start ranking. But I was like, I don't know what this word is. He's like, oh no, that's great for us, Yeah. It was completely off. Like, I would never have known that. So just to have the data to put in front of people, then they should know. So that I wrote it down, but what was it again?
The top 3 questions that people need to have answered before
askthepublic.com.
Oh, answer.
Answer the public. Yeah,
answer the public.
Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Now, you mentioned answering these questions, and I like the way you're thinking, and I think you're getting everybody's mind in the right place. Testimonials, questions, blend them all together. Don't necessarily have. So are you saying not to have a testimonial page? Is period? Just don't even have one?
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
The reason is there are, if you go look at your analytics and see how popular that page is, it's likely that it's just not a popular page at all. I was showing someone an analytics account the other day that showed that the testimonials page on this website we were looking at was your 31st most popular page. But the testimonial content itself was very strong. So just, without just giving the blanket rule of like, never make that page, just ask this question. Should you put your most compelling content on your 31st most popular page? That would be crazy, right? So the idea is best foot forward, in that your most popular pages, the pages on the top path through your website, the highway gets the billboards. Don't put billboards on back streets. Put billboards on the highway where people are likely to see them. Testimonial content should go right next to the marketing claim that it supports. They should go on every page, especially the top pages. Unless you, for some weird reason, have a very popular testimonials page, I don't recommend putting that content there. It's like a garnish, right? It's like food. You don't serve a dish of all cherries. That's what goes on top of these other, your vanilla milkshake. Maybe I'm hungry. Why did I think of that?
And why'd you
Very
mention
random.
cherries? Because I could eat a lot of cherries.
I guess, yeah.
No,
But would you want a meal of all? Yeah. So
yeah, no, I'm joking.
It's an ingredient. Is basically what I'm saying, right?
Sure.
But the page is more of a meal.
And it just, as you're saying that, my gut just tells me that having all these testimonials together could be contrived, but having them taken out as a silo and putting them next to something, all of a sudden it becomes real, more believable. Is that what you've experienced?
Absolutely.
And it just kind of just seems like that could be the case,
Yeah, they should appear in the flow. The visitor didn't come to read the testimonial.
Yeah.
It's sort of like having, while you're explaining something, have someone next to you who's telling you that that's a good thing, right? Or imagine if you went to court, right? It's like you and I are trial lawyers, and we're making a case, and we're gonna. Are we going to put all of our witnesses and evidence like down the hall to the left, like go up the stairs and there's a room full of witnesses, go talk to them? No, we're in front of you, and we're gonna inject evidence as we go through making our case. It gets woven in as a story, so it paints a narrative or brings clarity. That's the goal, is to be clear. So we need to answer questions, and in doing so, we would make marketing claims. And then we want to give every claim some support so that it's stronger, and that means inline testimonials, evidence, data, statistics, whatever helps build that case.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense. Now, just to finalize, these, you mentioned, questions should go with the services, but like an FAQ page. You're saying just don't even have one of those either?
Yep, I actually don't recommend having an FAQ page.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, hey, shake it up.
It's a bad idea, right? I don't like it. I don't like the FAQ pages any more than I like testimonials pages, because what you're saying is that these questions are frequently asked. What you're saying is that a lot of people need this information, and because a lot of people need it, I'm going to put it over here on a page with a navigation label that's meaningless.
Yeah, unless it's like one product, like if it's a software or something. Would you agree with that? Or
I do, and I like that you brought up an exception, because we make these statements in a super prescriptive way, as if everyone should do everything we suggest. But there's exceptions to every one of these rules, and you brought up a good one. Let's say I've got a single-purpose website. Let's say my site is about one product or one event or one program. Then there's pages that describe the thing, and you could have a page for FAQ that was quite popular and effective. There's even sites I've seen that do have testimonials pages that get visited by something like 1 in 5 visitors, and that might not even be horrible. But it
depends,
Yeah, but generally what it looks like is a poorly organized website where you're saying this content is popular and important and frequently asked, but I'm going to stick it over there. You can give it a label that is not descriptive. Just call it FAQ.
Yeah. Yeah, so change that part of it. No, I hear you. No, and it makes complete sense. But in theory, if you have a single-purpose deal, well, then the questions you're answering are the same thing of what you've described before. Let's just make it more descriptive. Common questions about our event, or software questions, or whatever. Same difference. It's just don't. But if you only have one product, well, then you can, in theory, have a FAQ page, but let's speak to them a little bit better and still have that. It's your one service page, basically. So I mean, no, I gotcha.
If everyone wants to go to your event, and a third of all people have a question about parking, then your event page should have a link or button or a few sentences about parking. If the question is frequently asked, put the question onto the page where the question pops into the mind of the visitor. It's probably not the first thing they wonder about your event, but it's farther down the page. If you put it there, then you're better able to serve that 1/3 of visitors who have that question. They don't have to go look. They're not going to aim. They're not going to click. The goal is this. The theory is that aiming and clicking or tapping with my finger is way too much work. But scrolling, every one of your visitors has their finger on a piece of glass or on a mouse wheel or on a trackpad, and scrolling is much easier than tapping a target. That's why we don't want to obscure content or bury it on a separate page.
Yeah, no, I'm loving all this stuff. just taking all my own notes. I always learn so much from you here. And a lot of this stuff is just logical, but it's about having somebody speak, no, hey, these are the things that, really we've seen. And again, to remind everybody, this is what Andy does day in and day out. I mean, they're conversion rate specialists. So this isn't coming from somebody who read it somewhere else and is guessing. This is tried and true stuff. Now, to circle back, you mentioned this already. You have two different kinds of evidence. Just want to go ahead and clarify that for people. I know you have your big evidence and your small evidence. You touched on this, but I would like to clarify a few things, and I got this question from looking over some of your stuff. But, you have your reviews, and then, like, for an example, you have your review, like a literal review from a person that says something, and then you have your conglomeration of reviews, which would be all of your 4.7 rating, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and explain what you mean by big evidence and small evidence, because I know, and give like specifics of those, because you're saying you need both. So describe both, because I can see somebody getting confused with saying they have a 4.7 with a link to their Google reviews without actually putting it on there where they don't have to click and they can just see somebody saying something.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to send people somewhere else to see the evidence. A separate website would be even worse than a testimonials page, because they just left your site. Where there's traffic, there's hope. We'd like to keep them on this site. And if you can add the widget from that third party, like a Yelp review or some BBB certificate,
or
Google,
like to keep, too.
Or Google, yeah, we want to keep them on our site if we can. So that idea, though, is something that there are two kinds. They're both opportunities. You don't have to have both. If you picked one, I'd pick the second one, the small one. I think this is a weird example where the little thing is the more important thing. But you can take it straight from journalism. If you read a story that says, oh, there were 10,000 people displaced by some wildfire, and little Johnny got separated from his dog, the number is one type of information and it's the format for media, right? For news media. The big picture is the size of the scale of the topic, but it's the little story that gives it human interest and connects it. So the big picture is logic and reason and the brain, and the little picture is emotion and the heart and passion. So it makes, one is logos and one is pathos. This is like the Aristotle 3 modes of persuasion. So that whole idea is that we have different audiences and different people who want information in different ways. And we have to speak to all of them at one time. And it's always, we can add evidence and data and statistics, and those might be things like years in business, or the star reviews, or how many procedures we've done. Ever seen like a LASIK ad? There's like, we've done 1 million eyes or something like that number. Builds confidence. It's powerful. But the little story, and you should move quickly from the data down to the little story, the testimonial, is where you feel what that person felt. And the idea is that the visitor empathizes and can put themselves in that, they transport themselves into the person they're hearing from and can begin to get the emotion of that person and can feel what that person feels, because we're inherently emotional. Many people believe, and it's been said for decades, that we are not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think sometimes. so it's really
well, that's how decisions are made.
Exactly.
People don't understand. A lot of people understand this, but I think some people get confused by this, that buying decisions are, this has been studied and talked about ad nauseum. So this is clear. Buying decisions are made from your emotion, from your gut.
Yep.
That's why people say, I feel it in my gut. And then they just need one little tip to push them over after that, and it's the connecting to evidence.
Yep.
So yeah, you want to lead with the story, the emotion, the actual people, and then you put the stamp of approval by stating how many you've done, how many procedures you've done, how many, all of that. So lead with the emotion. Lead with the emotion, because that's what people are drawn to. And that's just how we've made buying decisions for the last 1,000 years, and how we're going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an excellent point. So important.
And so what is the best, you mentioned the best type of testimonial that you can have?
Well, there is a combination where you can lead with the emotion, but the emotion can also include data. Like, oh, thank God you guys saved my business. I was losing $50,000 a month. Okay, there's data in that report, in that testimonial.
That's emotional.
But that was very emotional. I led with the emotion. So yeah, those are great. I like keyword focused testimonials are powerful because the word count, it's part of the word count, and that text counts, and Google reads it, and so you can put that in there. That's great. But by far, and I say this with some hesitation because I don't have this on my site right now. It's a goal of ours this year. Our site converts like a champ, and I'm not worried about it, but I know that this will be even more effective. The video testimonial is just a way better way to shoot the person right through the heart, because you've got the tone of voice, you've got their face, you've got their body language, you've got not just the words they choose. Text is the weakest format. It's just the words they choose. Add a picture, it helps a lot. But if you've got the person talking, and you can really come much closer to the emotion of that person. So it's really, really powerful to add video testimonials. And if you go through the time and expense to create those, make sure those are on the most popular pages, because that's like the atomic bomb of marketing. Make sure if you put video testimonials on your site, put them on the top visited pages in a relatively prominent place, because there probably is nothing else. There isn't a pixel on your site that's more powerful or compelling than that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and recently just started an initiative for a client we serve to get testimonials, and simply just asked, some to do them. I didn't offer any gift or anything like that. I wanted it to be genuine, and I only wanted the people who wanted to do them to do them. So you can shoot them on their own iPhone and tell them to send to you. So I just want everyone to know that you don't have to. And in fact, it looks more real that way. If you set them up in the studio and everything, it just doesn't look as good. So. Or you can disagree with that, but to me, a simple, hey, do you mind shooting this on your computer or your iPhone, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, just state who, what, and why you like working with us. That's it.
I don't disagree at all. I think that authenticity is more important than production value. Our whole point here is to be human.
Yeah.
Everything we're saying about these video testimonials is about being human, being real, authenticity. So it's not a huge risk, but sometimes production value makes something seem less real. So
I agree.
But you probably know this from the emotions of your clients. Isn't it really hard for clients or for any of us to put something on the site that we don't feel looks 100%?
Well, of course, but at least on this one thing, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, for sure.
This one thing, I'm cool with it. I wanted them to be not perfect. I really did. The intent was to make them look like somebody just went to the effort of shooting a video on their phone because they love this company, period. Nothing that we brought them in and it looks staged and all of that. So I think, of course, you need to be able to hear. You don't want it super crazy dark, but.
Though, I'm glad you said that, because if there is one thing that's a deal breaker, it's those two things. You do need, you got to have basic audio quality.
Basic audio quality, yeah. Basic video.
And lighting.
That's it.
Yep. Just stick them in a window. Like put the person next to a window. If you don't have a light with you. But yeah, that's you just kind of nailed the two deal breakers, and where it makes the biggest difference. You got to have that in there.
Okay, awesome. And real quick, you've mentioned them quite a few times, your top pages, top visited pages, all that. I'll just let you do it, but walk somebody real quick through Google Analytics. I know you're versed in it. I've seen you talk on podcasts specifically about this. So quickly just show people how where to click to see their top visited pages.
Sure. So the bottom three reports on the left side in your analytics are alphabetized A, B, C. Acquisition, behavior, conversion. It's like a funnel. Where they came from, what they did, who converted and took action. So so the top pages is naturally, of course, in the behavior reports, what they did. This is where they visited. So the breadcrumb trail for that top pages report would be behavior, site content, all pages. Yeah. Click on behavior, it expands. Click on site content, it expands. Click on all pages. That's going to show you a sorted list, the top 10 based on page views. The drop down at the bottom to see your top 25 or 50 or 5,000. If you want to switch the view in the top right above the data, there's 5 little different view buttons. Switch that view to comparison view, and you'll see that some of your pages are like 10,000. So it looks like a spreadsheet. right? All the data.
Where it says day, week, month?
No, below that. So there's two parts of every analytics report. There's the top part, which is the trend line, goes up and down. Then there's the bottom part, which is the data. In between, above the data, on the far right, there are 5 little buttons where you can switch the view of the report. You can make your report look like a pie chart. You can make it look like a spreadsheet. So the fourth of those 5 different views is the comparison view, which I love.
See it.
Click on comparison view, and it draws it basically makes a bar chart out of your data, showing you comparing each of these pages to the average. And the default is going to be the page view, and it's going to show you that some of your pages are like 5,000% more popular than the average, or 2,000% more popular than the average. That helps people understand really just how much more powerful the big guys are than the little guys on every website. Every website looks like that.
Gotcha. And you probably want to pull that back 3 months so your recent blog post that you might be distributing doesn't skew those numbers. Do you think that's a good amount of time to go back on the time?
Yep, this is an excellent point, because everything that you see in all the data and all the reports is a function of the time frame. So you can either choose a very long time frame that makes the seasonality less relevant or recent promotions less relevant, or just look at this with that in mind, right? Hopefully you know what you've been doing recently and these things. When you look at the list, if you're active in marketing, you should know that's popular because it was the last newsletter. That's popular because I've been driving ads to it. You know, it's really the traffic source is of course the context for the visitor, where they came from, and you have to keep all of that in mind, because there's lots of things that affect these numbers. This is just the generic relative popularity of all things, regardless of where people came from.
Understood. Awesome. Well, Andy, another super informative podcast here with you. A lot of great info. Let's go ahead and have you recap and give us your 5-point checklist for each page.
Sure. So the first question we have to answer on each page is, am I in the right place? So the top of the page, the visual hierarchy, should tell people where they are. Next, we want to make sure that the page is speaking directly to them by answering people's top questions, right? And that can ideally go in order based on what the most likely questions are for each type of visitor. Every one of those answers is a marketing claim. We either answered a question or addressed an objection. We need to support each of those claims with evidence. So I'll put number 3 as evidence. So those are testimonial contents. Go with passion first if you can. Add data next if you can. The fourth thing, we need to add a call to action. Let's make it specific and tell people what they're going to get if they take that action. Add urgency if we can to the action. The call to action should be specific about, better than just contact or submit would be ideal. And I don't know that you had a specific 5-point checklist in mind, but I'll give you an easy fifth.
No, you got it.
Yeah, remove distraction. Right, it's very likely that you have things on your page that are you talking about yourself when you shouldn't be, or that are right next to your call to action. There's links to other things. What a lot of people do, and this is sometimes a mistake, is on that service page they'll start promoting their blog content. I don't know that that's always a good idea, because now you're taking the person out of the funnel. Ask yourself, do you really want people to click any of these other links you have on this page? Or are you just trying to, with laser focus, guide them through a set of questions and answers and evidence? With laser focus, guide them through a certain specific psychology. And really, are you throwing other calls to action and links in there and things that would make it a less effective page, diluting the ratio of things you want them to do versus things they can do?
Understood. And I think one thing you mentioned a couple times here, but I don't think you mentioned it right now on the checklist, is formats beyond text. You mean logos, right? Having a logo, hopefully a video, But minimum, if you're going to have text testimonials and stuff like that, add some trust indicators, meaning make them a real person with a logo and all that stuff, right? Is there any other thing like formats beyond text that?
Yeah. I mean, if the trust box is another good one. Like if you have certifications or logos or association memberships, awards you've won, like security certificates, these are very effective when you put them all together in a little box. And this is never the first concern of the visitor. People don't ask if the e-commerce site is secure before they even know if the e-commerce site has the product they want. So these often go in the bottom. They can go globally on every page on the site in a footer. So if you've won some awards and you got your BBB logo and you got your Google reviews widget, put these all together, maybe in the footer, on the top of every footer potentially. That way people who do scan all the way to the bottom, there's a chance for them to get more trust. That can be effective. That's another format beyond text. It's the image, but it's also a third-party endorsement.
Okay, awesome. All right, I have one personal question here, which applies. So, but it's personally that something I went through. I'd like to ask you about. What are your thoughts on having a video on a conversion landing page? We did this. We had this amazing video done for the printing company we work with. Kodak chose them. Like one of 2 printers in the entire country were featured because of their dedication to advancement in technology. And
congrats.
It's like, yeah, it was amazing. It really was amazing. It was like 6 minutes long, but just like talk about, hey, obviously we care about investing into our company, and all this stuff, means better quality control, better this, better that, all that stuff, right? So we put that on there. We changed out the bullet points of some of the stuff we had, and we switched it out. And the conversion, it almost literally, granted the other one had been running for a couple years-ish. There were some adjustments as we went, but in general, the same format. And then the conversion, when we did this for like only 2 months, but still, 2 months gave us some data. It was like the exact same conversion rate, to the point where I was almost scared that it was maybe not converting enough. Do you not agree with putting a video on a testimonial page, or did I just not let it play out long enough?
Well, it was a land. So tell me more about the page.
It's a landing page. It's strictly request bid and samples. So that's our call to action, to get them to that page with everything that we do. And then we have, we had bullet points that get free samples, so we can make sure the quality is up to your standards. A bid with no obligation, all that stuff, right? Which are big things, right? But it's hard to incorporate that in a video, although we're going to be testing that as well. But just do you think the video alone on a landing page, is it just one of those things where it could be good, could be bad, or stay away from it? What do you think?
Well, the person who landed on the page, depending on the traffic source, might be ready to make a quick decision, and a lot of their buyer intent may have been indicated by the click itself. So if I'm coming from AdWords and the ad itself said, get a bid, I came to that page with what is my context? I'm there for the bid. So the video might be a distraction because I already know that I want to take action. So also the function of the video, as effective or not, as influencing that, is partly determined by how many people saw it. So if you put event tracking on the play button on the video and then look at that relative to conversions, you may learn that the video wasn't even clicked, in which case it's just visual noise and an image would be just as good. So I would look to see how many people saw it. If you determine that the few people who did see it did convert at a higher rate, now your next challenge is to increase the click-through, or the rate that people play the video, in which case the video custom thumbnail can be done in a way that, I mean, a lot of it has to do, we'd have to look at it together, but if the video itself has a custom, has a thumbnail image, the default image overlaying the video, that has text indicating a benefit and has a face, more people will click on it. But in the end, you may just find that video did not affect conversions there. And you bring up an amazing and super important point, which is data. Everything we're talking about should be influencing data and outcomes and our statistics, our analytics. So nothing we have said is a hard, fast rule. This is all like rules of thumb, heuristic stuff. So whatever you do, you need to go measure it and see the before and after. And in that case, your test may just indicate that that's not going to be a powerful influencer for that source of traffic on that landing page. Yeah.
Shocking. I hated it. It killed me. I was like, you got to be kidding. How is this not, increasing it 10, 20, 30, 40? I was thinking it was going to be 50, 100%. Now, but what do you think about the length? It was 6 minutes. If we're going to have a video, should it be under a minute if it's going to be on a conversion page?
Well, the video, I mean, the video is a format for content, but the content itself the best quotes, the juiciest nuggets, whatever you've got in there, that may be better just pulled out and exposed or surfaced right there on the page.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you've got great stuff at 5.5 minutes into the video, trust me, only a tiny percentage of people are going to see it. So that length is a problem. Video is just a completely different way to consume content. So it's actually hiding a lot of the potentially juicy nuggets deeper down.
Okay, so you don't have a yay or nay on videos on landing pages. It's one of those maybe, maybe not, test track and move on type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering if I was just way off on even having a video on a conversion page, but you're saying possibly.
Depends. It depends.
It
all depends on the source of traffic and the psychology of that visitor.
Okay.
If they know what they want, just get out of the way and give it to them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, well, any parting thoughts before we have to let you go, and also let everybody know how we can continue to learn from you?
No, we made that final point about using data to drive decisions, but I'm easy to reach. LinkedIn's probably my best network, but everything that I write, or most of what I write, is on the Orbit Media site, orbitmedia.com/blog, and I don't know, podcasts like
this.
And
you're at Crestodina, right?
At Crestodina, yep.
So CRESTODINA, and I strongly suggest everybody start following Andy. Andy, really appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun, super informative. You don't see all my notes I made personally, but I made a lot. So till next time.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon, Dave.